Personal and intimate relationships are key to our conscious evolution. This is the subject of today's episode. Welcome to the High Performance Consciousness Podcast. My name is Matthew Paddy, and again, I will be your host for today's show. This is a topic that does come up a lot in my masterclasses, in my private client conversations, as well as in my daily life with just friends and family at times. And it's one of relationships and conscious coupling. So let's dive into today's conversation. There's potentially a lot of questions that are going to come out of this, and there may be the need to do a follow-up episode just on this subject, because relationships are critical and the foundational mechanism to help us evolve and help us wake up to our true capabilities as, you could say, divine beings. They are essential for personal growth so that we can reflect and observe our self, our beliefs, our perspectives on the world, our wants, needs, and desires. Also, we can look at our shadow inside of our relationships, because if you've listened to any of my previous podcasts, you will understand or may have heard me say that everyone outside of us, all objects and things, all people, places, events, and circumstances are pushed out from us. And the moment we realize that, the moment we acknowledge it and begin to understand it by leaning into it as a fact, as a clue to help us evolve and to become more conscious and become more consciously aware of what is possible in our personal growth journey, then you will start to see that for all change to occur outside, change must occur inside. So let's dive into to today's episode. So let's talk about conscious coupling. Let me present a scenario to you. You may have been here yourself. You may have heard through friends and family or colleagues of this type of scenario occurring. I know I have been there as well. So let's say that you're single and you meet someone and you've got a lot in common, and you fall into attraction. You fall into attraction because there is an electromagnetic signature that you are both emitting. You are both sending out a signal. Now, at some level, you are attracted to each other at a conscious level. A lot of the time, you're attracted at a subconscious level. What do I mean by that? Well, you're attracted to each other at the conscious level because they may look a certain way, they may have certain mannerisms or humor, or maybe standing in the community, maybe they've got the same sort of values regarding family and financial independence or security. Maybe it's travel. Maybe it's, something like institutions. You might be going to the same church, or you might be going to the same organizations, whatever it may be. So you're interested. There is a conscious awareness that you are interested in the same things, and you meet and unify at that level of interest, at that level of commonality. But most importantly, and again, if you've listened to many of my podcasts, you'll understand that at the subconscious level, that is where all of, or most of creation exists. So we attract people into our life, partners, colleagues, friends, family. But let's talk about the intimate side of things. We attract partners into our life at a subconscious level to help us heal. Now, what are they helping us to heal at the subconscious level? Well, there's two sides. There is the side that we have denounced or not given full credence to or not observed, and that may typically be what some refer to as a shadow. So the shadow side, which is, I can see that the same sorts of fears come up, or the same sorts of beliefs or perspectives on the world about myself or about the world with myself in it occur or present themselves in intimate relationships. That at the subconscious level is primed from your past. So if it's primed from your past, then the electromagnetic signature that you are emitting is based on your past experiences. So therein, you may actually find that you think, well, that person reminds me of X. That person reminds me of Y. That person reminds me of Z. So really, do they remind you of that, or is your response to their behavior, their mannerisms, their values, their decision making, their language, their whatever it may be, remind you of someone or something in your past? That's more like it. So at a subconscious level, we are attracting the very energy that we are at a superconscious level seeking to evolve upwards from, to heal, to overcome, not to bypass, not to overlook, not to push down and swallow down hard and say, hey, that's not going to find me again. It is for the prime reason and opportunity for you to observe it, lean into it, and bring it to the surface so it can be healed, so it does not follow you into the future in this relationship or in another relationship. It will find itself in all relationships. So quite often, intimacy, when we are intimate in a partnership, we will find that if we look hard enough or discerning enough, then we will see that there are patterns that we've been carrying at a subconscious level from our past programming that signify or give us clues as to what our real beliefs are about ourselves. Maybe it's about, whether I feel worthy. Maybe it's that I feel like I need to place myself as second best or serve. Maybe it's that I need to heal others and show up for others rather than healing and showing up for myself. Maybe it's that I've never found my voice, and in not being able to speak my voice or not feeling confident or capable of speaking my voice in an intimate relationship, maybe that's one of the clues that says to find your voice, to stand your ground, to express yourself, and to be who you really are, to find value in the self. So intimacy, because there is, there's physical touch and there's physical intimacy, and there's an exchange of energy. Not just not the exchange of spittle or bodily fluids or whatever it may be, but there's an exchange of energy at that level. And so that brings about the deep emotions that are locked and baked into our subconscious tray. So when we look at whether you're single or you're with someone right now, or a long-term relationship, call it marriage, or just a long-term partnership, there will be aspects within the self that will appear and present themselves through and of your partner's behavior, actions, inactions, words, and all the rest. Okay, so becoming conscious in a relationship is a vital key to awareness, personal awareness. So are you conscious of yourself, your own decisions, your own behaviors, and your own values and your own beliefs in the relationship that you're in right now? Maybe you're in a relationship with yourself and you have no intimate other. However, you are in an intimate relationship with maybe some family or some friends, where most of your energy is given to or absorbed by. There's a level of intimacy right there, because you are being consumed by that energy or being consumed by that relationship. So conscious coupling, first and foremost, is about being aware of the self, aware of your own behavior. And so it is very easy to point the finger at someone else or some other people outside of us and say that they are doing this to me, or they are not X, Y, and Z, when in fact, it's not that they are doing it or not doing it, or saying it or not saying it. It is the fact that you have an expectation on what you prefer the other person to be like in order to support your previous beliefs, concepts, and perceptions of self and what you want out of the relationship. So maybe it's security, maybe it's certainty, maybe it's significance, maybe it's to be seen, heard, and felt. Maybe it's to be, supported and guided. Maybe it's to be pedestaled. There is this consistent play of this fantastical model that we run, both males and females. It's not just the female mind, it's the male mind as well, that wants to run fantastical scenes. That is, everything needs to be perfect in order for me to be happy. And the person needs to be perfect and needs to live up to my expectations in order for me to feel safe, secure, confident, certain, whatever it may be. So at a level of conscious coupling, you can bring those to the surface. bring them to the surface and use I am feeling this way, I am experiencing this, I am seeing this, and invite the other person to look through their lens at what they see, what they experience, what they observe, without it being a polarized conversation. Now, this brings up another key point, and I do hear this a lot, is I feel like I'm evolving. I feel like I've woken up, or I'm on the path of awakening, and my partner isn't, or my group of friends are not on the path of awakening. That, in of itself, held as a firm belief and as a judgment, is what keeps you from realizing a new preferred reality in your intimacy, in your relationships. Because now we're expecting other people to catch up to us. We're expecting other people outside of us to conform to an ideal that we have about ourselves and about our view of the world. But maybe, at the level of conscious coupling, maybe those people are there in your life, here right now, with the very purpose of helping you to wake up, helping you to own your power, helping you to ascend out of your past grievances, past limited thinking or belief structures. And it can come by way of you not getting what you want. It can come by way of you feeling like you aren't supported, like you aren't being heard, like you aren't being treated with significance. Does that make sense? So the partner or the intimate group of friends, whatever is coming up for you is a lesson for you. They are here in your life, in your awareness, to offer you the opportunity to grow. Now, that's a big, hairy horse pill to swallow. At times, at the beginning, we may want to be in victim mode, and we will want to blame and judge and ridicule and resent other people for not being on our path. However, all seeds in the garden have their own time. And if you are one of the seeds, and your partner or your intimate group of friends or whatever it may be are all seeds as well in the same garden, then all will sprout in and of their own time. So maybe your presence is not to awaken them. Maybe their presence is to help awaken you. It's a game changer. So does that mean then that in a conscious coupling scenario or environment, that you need to stay in a relationship or stay in a friends or peer group that is not helping you to grow? Maybe there's, dare I even say it, maybe there's physical or mental or emotional or spiritual abuse of some kind. Now, you may say that that's them. But no. For you to find your voice, it is for you to come to the awareness that this is the pattern that you've been carrying forward from your past to this present moment, for the very opportunity for you to grow, for you to become aware of it, that this is not this person at this time doing this thing or not doing this thing. It is a pattern that you have carried at some level through your work, through your personal relationships, through your intimate relationships, whatever it may be. Maybe it's in your career, maybe it's in your money, because one thing equals everything. It follows us around like our shadow. You can't escape your shadow. Now, by observing your relationship as the self, then you can say, well, how am I conducting my conversations with my other self? So if you are a female in a relationship, a female gender, and you are in a relationship with, let's say, another female, another male, whatever it may be, then the energy of your partner is your other half, is the other 50% of the evolution equation for you, the masculine and the feminine energy and the masculine energy, all that is basically leading us to become whole and balanced in both our own masculine and feminine energies. So conscious coupling means that we are aware of the self and we are aware of the other as an instrument to help us awaken for the self. And we are the same for them. But just as the analogy I gave about being seeds in the garden, and each seed has its time to blossom, to flower, to sprout a shoot, maybe it's not your role to help them awaken in this moment. If you are going through this process and you are experiencing this visceral change or this new awareness or these new thoughts or these new desires starting to arise, then it is for you at this time. People come into our life, reason, season, or a lifetime. You may have heard that, reason, season, or lifetime. But imagine this. Imagine that you are on a conveyor belt, one of those long conveyor belts that's at a big airport. And you are on the conveyor belt, moving as if it were through different rooms or moving through different space. Each of the people that come into your life are essentially jumping on and off the conveyor belt with you. Maybe they're on the side where they're not doing the conveyor belt walk, the escalator walk. Maybe they're just walking on the normal ground, the carpet, the tiles, whatever it may be. Maybe they're standing still. So you will see it would appear almost like a computer game, a holographic game, where you are moving through scenes and no one else is moving but you. And people would pop in and pop out of your awareness, pop in and pop out of your sight or your line of sight, and you would have moment-to-moment experiences with these people. They might jump on the conveyor belt with you for a period of time and then jump off. Maybe they don't jump on at all. And so if you observe it that way, that conscious coupling is all about the self. It is about being aware of the self and being open to receiving the information from those other people that we come into contact with, because every single living being is an instrument of consciousness. Every single living being is an instrument for our awakening. Think about that for the moment. And so if everyone is an instrument for our own awakening, then how can I observe the self with greater depth and greater compassion and greater love for my journey and own what rises within me and look at it, even though at times it may feel ugly or shameful or guilty or whatever it may be. Maybe there's resentment, judgment, whatever it may be, but observe it. Observe it. Because when we can observe what arises without judgment, then we can see with greater potential both sides of the equation. And so in conscious coupling, I've known many people that have stayed together for many, many, many decades. Now, they've not always seen eye to eye. They've had their own interest. They've been loyal to each other. They've been compassionate and loving towards each other, but they've grown together in their own way. And that is a key component to conscious coupling, allowing someone else to grow in their own way, to deform and reform to a new concept of self in their own way, on their own conveyor belt, in their own time. That can be challenging because there is this egoic expectation that whilst I'm awakening and I'm interested in all these new things and I'm doing these short courses, or maybe I'm learning about meditation, maybe it's learning about, some of the psychic arts, maybe it's yoga, maybe whatever it is, traveling, yada, yada, yada. So there's an expectation that I don't want to do this alone, because in the conscious coupling I have experienced with this person, there's been dependency, codependency. So for me to go on my own, I feel like they need to come with me, or they should come with me to validate what I'm doing, so I don't feel guilty for pursuing my own path, when in fact, that's what you were doing before you met. Make sense? So you go back to the moment you met and the dates or the engagements that you had leading into the intimacy or into a deeper relationship with that person, and you'll start to observe, did I lose myself? Did I lose myself to an ideal of someone else? Did I lose myself to the ideal of my past? Better said, better still. Because if I lose myself to the ideal of my past beliefs, then it is not the person that stands or sits before me. It's the past that presents itself right now to be brought to the surface, to be objectively viewed, and to be engaged so it can be healed. Because if you want a future to look different than your past, if you want your future to be upgraded so that more of your preferences are included and realized in your new future, then you must become aware of the patterns that you run, the tape that is running on auto repeat in your subconscious mind. So conscious coupling is about personal awareness. Does that mean that you need to grow at the same rate or the other person needs to grow at the same rate as you? No. They are there for a prime reason at a prime time for you to awaken to a greater awareness of self. So I'll leave it at that for this episode. It's maybe piqued some interest, maybe it's piqued some emotions in you, and I will do a follow-up one to this because conscious coupling and conscious uncoupling are big concepts. And as we move more into what is referred to as the Aquarian age, then independence, sovereignty, our own personal freedom is the prime objective here. It's the prime instrument or formula for us to awaken to a greater potential within ourselves, so that in unifying ourselves, the masculine and the feminine energies within ourselves, we then are able to show others through our physical expression what balance looks like. Our role is not to show them so that they mimic you. Our role is to own the self, own our power, own our journey. And by nature and by virtue of that, it will ripple out into the field. And those who come into contact with you will be the beneficiaries of that. And maybe you then become the instrument of awakening for them. It must and always does start with the self. So I hope this has been an exciting episode. It's gone pretty quickly. I will do some follow-up episodes on this because I know one thing that gets in the way of abundance, of experience, financial abundance or business abundance, financial harmony, is relationship intimacy. One thing that gets in the way of health, personal health and healing and transformation is personal intimacy. So I'll leave you there. So from me here to wherever you are in the world, dream a better dream for the self. Dream a better dream for the self. It's all you, baby. See you in the field.